What's up, everybody? Chill Scrub here, man. I am coming back to Tekken 7, starting Season 4. I'm a little excited for it, but that's not what we're here for today. We're here for Kazuya, and this will be my, dare I say, masterclass of Kazuya Mishima. This is going to be a multi-part, pretty much a multi-part guide of how to play Kazuya and the mindset of how I play Kazuya. I can't tell you how to play the character. I can just share my insights and hopefully you gain something out of it. What are the pros and cons of Kazuya? I feel like Kazuya is a very, very heavy mix-up character. You can play on both ways. You can be very defensive. You can wait for your whiff and get a big damage electric whiff punish, or you can force the issue with the wave dash. The only thing is that a lot of his options are very risky out of the wave dash. A lot of the options are very sidesteppable, like the forward 4-3 option, very sidesteppable. The electric can be sidestepped. His forward 4 can be sidestepped, while standing 4 can be sidestepped, and his tail sweep is blocked and you die. Or they can just get your hold back and then you still die. So with that being said, yeah, his offense is strong but risky at the same time. So I see why a lot of people say they would lean towards defense. His poking isn't the best, but it definitely can get you by. With wave dash 4, it's a good poking tool. His down back 4 is a good poking tool for a low. His jab is pretty solid, even though it lacks the range, it's pretty good. His down forward 1, it does a good chunk of damage, even though it's 15 frame startups, but he compensates with that with a down forward 4. What else he has? When it comes to poking, like he's not really poke heavy, but it can definitely get you by. When it comes to punishment, obviously one of the best characters in the game when it comes to punishment. 1-1-2 flash combination, knocks down, it starts off the vortex, all that great stuff. His down forward 1-2 definitely does a chunk of damage for a 15 frame punisher, or you can just go with the electric wind god fist that does 22 damage if you do the just frame version, or 20 damage if you just do a regular wind god fist. 2-2 does 36 damage, pretty chunky damage. His combo damage is very strong, so you it definitely hurts getting hit with this character. He puts the pressure on you early. I feel like when I play Kazuya, I play him to demoralize my opponent. I want to get inside their head and make them second guess when they want to be extremely aggressive or when they want to be extremely defensive. So he's one of those characters that takes advantage of that. But with that being said, let's get into it. Alright, we're in the lab now, and let's get started with Kazuya's poking. We're going to start off with the jab, the most fundamental tool in Tekken. So, the jab essentially is +8, it's +1 on block, and it's the most essential thing to get your offense started. It's universal for most characters, so that's one of the things that you should be utilizing the most. I don't see a lot of Kazuyas utilizing the jab that often. They prefer to go with hell sweeps and down back 4s, down forward 4s, and things of that nature. But I really want to hammer in the use of the jab. It's a good move to test to see what your opponent's going to do. And you don't just do it just to do it. You do it to test to see what your opponent's going to do and how they react to the jab. Some people, they like to duck on the jab, which is not a good idea. A lot of people like to try to sidestep after a jab, which is still not a good idea. So essentially, like, a lot of people like do things like this after a jab. They like to do things like this. They see it. Oh, let me start over. They see a jab, then they'll step, or I'm gonna do a jab and a jab, so I'm gonna do it one more time. So something like this. I'm gonna do a jab and then I'm gonna do a homing move. So a lot of people, when they're playing, they loosely sidestep and they end up eating the homing move. So that's one way they'll react to it. You want to see if they block too. So if they block, you know, they're defensive. Another good tool as far as poking is concerned is his down forward 4. It's +2 on hit, and if I'm not mistaken, it's -9, I think. It's -9 on block. It's a poking tool that you can use often. It's a good to end round. It has a lot of range that you can see. A lot of range. and it has a pretty decent amount of tracking. It can still be sized up to the left, so you want to be cautious of that. Another thing that he uses often is his definitely his while standing 4. His while standing 4, it looks very similar to its down forward 4, but it'll do a crouch dash motion to it. It's 11 frames, but if you count the 2 inputs, which most people don't, or you're doing a crouch dash motion, it can pretty much be 13 frames. So it's pretty much a 13 frame hit, even though it says on your startup it says 11. So this is a good tool when you're trying to use your wave dash or whatever. Oops. Instead of just always going for the hell sweep, you can just go ahead and mix in the while standing 4. Now if they block it, you are completely safe, and you get to check to see what they do afterwards. But the thing about it is, when you're using a while standing 4, oops, you cannot attack afterwards, seeing as though you are shit, you're -3. But on the other side is you can also move out the way. So I'm going to set it up right now to show you what kind of options you have after you do the while standing 4, and we'll go from there. Oops. Okay. What I want him to do. Let's see how I want to set this up. Yeah, that's what I want to do. Do this step. Okay, that should work. And of course, see? You can step after that because it's -3. A lot of things I'm going to do is probably going to whiff or be out of range. Caught him. See? And on top of that, you still can step block, so that's another important tool. Okay, so far I've covered the jab, which is extremely useful. Please, for the love of God, use the jab. It's very important. I covered down forward 4, -9 on block and +2 on hit. We just covered the while standing 4, which is -3 on hit on block, but plus on hit. Make sure you utilize that. Another one of his poking tools that most people use, that you're going to see most often when playing Kazuya as far as the lows is concerned, is his stature kick. Now his stature kick, on the other hand, is a great tool. It's +4, and that's where a lot of his counter hit setups, like down forward, down back 4 into down forward 4, or tsunami kick, or down back 4 into down forward 2. That's where a lot of these things come from. Or down forward to down back 4 into movement. A lot of these things come from this situation. So the down back 4 opens up for a lot of situations, just gauging off of what your opponent's going to do. So you have to understand your opponent when playing Kazuya and use your pokes efficiently, and just don't throw things out there because you will get punished for it. Now things with the down back 4, it has a lot of range, a lot. So boom, from there, boom, see that? Boom, look at that, max range. Yikes, look at that range. That's like 2 character whiffs. So when it comes down to using the down back 4, you have a lot of room to wiggle with. The thing about it is, it's -12 on block. So if a person's just happen to block it, let's see. Start off. See that? It's -12, so if they block it, no character in the game can launch you for it, but characters like Julia Chang, her while standing 4 will knock you down and put you in a pressure situation that you don't want to be in. So use it carefully, and it can always be low parried. The worst thing about the stature kick, though, that I don't really see people talking about, is the fact that it's so lateral and it has no crushing properties whatsoever. So when, let's say you're doing something like, I'm gonna set the computer up to do something that will get them punished, or something that's not legit. so not legit like kind of pressure. So let's see, forward, and we just gonna set it for, we're gonna do a jab and then we're gonna do a down back forward, so something like this. Now watch what happens if a person tries to interrupt it. See that? It's not legit. Because the reason why it's not legit, just a little bit of frame data advice right here, because the startup on the stature kick or the down back forward is 20 frames. That jab only gave you +1 on block, so that means I have 19 frames of free room to do whatever I want. Therefore, the down forward 2 will always beat it out. I know it's basic math, so you have to be cautious when trying to set up the down back 4. One of the best ways to do it, I just do it in just in neutral, moving around in a little bit of neutral. Try to find out that sweet range where like I know a jab or something will whiff, and I just go ahead and down back 4. So that's another great tool. So we covered the jab, we covered the down forward 4, we covered the while standing 4, we covered the down back 4. Now let's go to the down forward 2 and talk about its properties and why it's so good and why it's kind of cheap, if you really ask me. So we're just gonna set this not set, and we're gonna go back to regular settings. So the down forward 2, this +5, as you can see, +5 on hit, -12 on block, so it can be punished. Characters like Jin, they get a knockdown. Kazuya gets a knockdown. Heihachi gets knocked down. Mishimas get a knockdown for it, and some other characters that I can't think that have 10 frame knockdown punishes, or some characters like Kuma or Eliza, they can get a 10 frame launcher off of it, so you should be careful with that. But the down forward 2 is essentially a good tool for Kazuya. One, it's one of the very few get off me tools that he has. Very little risk, and it's a counter hit launcher. So let's put the counter hit on for a second and see what it does. You get a crumple state, which leads into a free combo. So something like this, something just basic. So you get the idea. So with the down forward 2, again, like I showed you earlier when I did the jab into the down back 4 and how unsafe that was, it's good for any interrupting things that you know aren't safe. So I'm gonna show you another example. Let's say a Kazuya player has a tendency of doing something, or the person you're playing has a tendency of doing something like this. Let's go to action, forward, and let's get it popping. So you're gonna do forward 3, sidestep into a jab or something like that, just to interrupt it. So something like that, right? Now that's not legit. I'm gonna tell you why. First of all, the forward 3 is -3 on block, so you're already minus, and now you're trying to step, which adds extra frames to it. Then on top of that, you're trying to throw a 10 frame jab out. So more than likely, if it does not hit clean, it's going to catch you on counter hit, and then you get launched. So let's go through it and let's see what happens. Oops, puts me in crouch. See, things like that happen. So you want to be careful when doing things like that. Down forward 2 is good for blowing up fake pressure, and you're going to see a lot of fake pressure from like anywhere from like light blue ranks, green ranks, yellow ranks, orange ranks, red ranks, and some of the purple ranks. So again, it's a bit deceptive. It's pretty fast, and it gets confused a lot with this move, which I'll talk about that later. So yeah, that's about it when it comes down to that. Again, it's 14 frames on startup, by the way. So it's 14 frames on startup. Counter hit launcher does a shit ton of damage. It does just the amount of damage as the electric wind god fist. So I think it's 22 damage there, and oops, and 22 damage for the electric wind god fist. So it's this one of the moves you could throw out like at the beginning of the round, and it's not going to cost you that much. But late round, you want to be very careful about using it. So if you're feeling spicy, go ahead and use the down forward 2 to just try to see what they're going to do, and let's see if they're punished or not, because a lot of times that move catches people off guard, and it's very fast. So you can catch a lot of people off guard with that. So it's one of them tools. Don't be scared to use it. The only downside is it is -12, and you can't get punished for it. Another tool I like to talk about that not a lot of Kazuyas use, let's take the counter hit off, is the 4. The 4 is really good. Let's put it back on regular. Let's see. Put it back on regular. So the thing about it is the 4 is really good, but the thing is it has no range, as you can see. So if I just out of the jab, you can't do it. But the thing about it is it's +2, and on counter hit it launches. So you get a basic launch off of that. So remember, the 4 has limited range, very limited range, but it's 12 frames. So 12 frames is pretty fast for high, and on top of that, you get a launch on counter hit. So you have to make sure you try to use all his poking tools. The 4 is more of a setup than a poke, but it still could be used as a poke either way, especially at the wall. So let's try the wall. Let's see. Start settings. Wall. So at the wall, if you're in a press situation at 0 range, you could just do it. So something like boom, boom, or okay, something like that. So, all right. Remember, 12 frames, counter hit launcher, limited range. Be very careful, safe on block. Those are the things that's what 4. So again, we're covering a lot of moves so far. I know I done got down to 5, so we're going to number 6. And this is my personal favorite move. I'm going to, with all these moves, I'm going to show you me using these moves. Probably besides the 4, because I don't really use that often. I'm going to show you actual live footage of me using these moves. So it's not just like I'm just blowing hot air up your ass. I want you to actually see it in practice or actually in match. So you don't want to be like, oh, well, you just telling me to do something in practice mode, but when I try to apply it, it doesn't work. It does work, but you do have to know your opponent and you have to use these moves at the right time. So that's that. Let's go over my favorite move. This is my favorite move. Let's go back to center. Go back to center to start this one. Let's go to the default position. All right, so a favorite move with Kazuya is this move right here, the forward 4. It's 19 frame startup, +7 on hit. Counter hit, it gives a free knockdown into a guaranteed forward 4 or a guaranteed stomp. Oops, slow, my bad, sorry about that. Haven't played in a while, so excuse me for being kind of scrubby, even though the name says it. So you get a free stomp, or you get a forward 4. The reason why this move is so great, it's a great lockdown tool, because on block, let's get it on block, you start to get things like that where they have to block. So it's +4, and let's do a basic math like we did last time. So if it's +4, if the forward 4 is +4 on block, right, and they try to step, more than likely they'll get caught by the down forward 2, the move we was talking about earlier. If they're not step blocking, if they're step blocking, they'll block it and then you'll get punished for it. So that's the risk you have to take with that. Or you could be safer, you could do a crouch dash 4, like we talked about earlier. So this will keep him in check after the forward. So this is one of Kazuya's lockdown poking tools that he uses, and at the wall it is absolutely lethal. At the wall, let's get him at the wall and make him block everything. So restart position at the wall, standing. I could just put it on. I could just leave it the way it is. So just get him at the wall. Boom. You can just literally spam that, and this becomes a mix-up because you don't want to be that person that I'm gonna switch it up, and I'm gonna put the restart settings at player direction, player status, switch positions. There we go. You don't want to be this person. I'm gonna set the computer to do it. At record. So I'm gonna do what I did. So jab. Okay, let's do it. So you don't want to be this person. And that happens. You don't want to be that person. That hurts. So that's the mind game when you're playing at depending on what level you're at. Like, it's a mind game. Now if you're playing at lower levels, I highly advise you just to go for the down forward 4 after that, because nobody likes being at the wall, especially in lower ranks. They're antsy to press a button because they don't know how to deal with pressure yet. This is no knock on low ranks. This is just a thing that's a common occurrence when you're playing lower rank players. When they get to the wall, they don't know how to act, and the pressure gets to them. I always tell people when they ask me for advice when it comes down to playing Tekken, when you're fighting at the wall, you're essentially fighting two opponents, because you're fighting to get space away from the wall, and you got to worry about the opponent not hitting you in the face. So you don't want to be at the wall, but when Kazuya gets at the wall, he gets some nasty things. So let me set everything back to normal. Let's go back to restart settings. default and oops, and switch position on off. So you don't want to be at the wall with the forward 4, my favorite move. So let's go over it again. Oops. Oops. +7 on hit, +4 on block, counter hit knockdown, guaranteed follow-up. Let me go over the follow-up one more time because I didn't explain it in detail, and I want to make sure you want to understand all your options when you're doing these poking tools or certain moves and what you're looking for and what happens. So when you're doing the forward 4 on counter hit, you got this option. Now when you do that option right there, I'm going to show you one more time. You see how it says he's +20? That's how you start your wave dash mix-up. So when you do the forward 4, you go into the wave dash mix-up, they press anything, they get launched. So they have to eat the Oki, eat the mix-up. Now, if you want to go for the kill, you go for the stomp. So let's make sure we use the right thing in the right situation. So when you do the, whoa, shit, damn, fucking key charge right now. So boom, boom, that's the damage. You get the extra damage for it, but at the same time, you see how far he is or how far away he is. You don't get the Oki for it. So if there's a situation at the beginning of the match and you have a little room to play with the health bar, go for the Oki, try to put some fear in your opponent, and make sure you get that mind game going, because if you do the stomp, as I show, you get the extra damage, but you pretty much reset the situation, and you don't, when it comes down to Kazuya, you pretty much got rid of all the hard work you did earlier trying to get yourself in the right position to put up your vortex and start your pressure. That's the hard work that comes in with Kazuya, trying to get in and start that good pressure, so you don't want to give it away just that easy by resetting it back to neutral with the stomp. I mean, you could wave dash, but if they press a button, more than likely you're going to get hit for it. So you can always also bait and try to punish like the get up 4 or the get up 3, but it's not worth it when you could just go ahead and do the forward 4, wave dash, and then go straight into your pressure, right? And don't have to worry about too much. All you have to worry about is they're going to try to tech roll or side roll or whatever. So that's a great tool to use. Now, speaking of the forward 4, let's go into the forward 4 real quick. And those people don't consider it a poke, but I do, for these various reasons. The forward 4 is +5, just like the down forward 2. It has a bit more range. It's a little slower though, it's 17 frame startup, but it's a counter hit launcher. So you can get a lot of damage off of it. It's a counter hit launcher. It has a bit of tracking to it. It doesn't have a lot, but it has enough tracking where you can use it in a wave dash and you can pretty much catch your opponent trying to press buttons, things of that nature. So, and it has a lot of pushback on block. So see that pushback? So if they try to jab, more than likely it's going to whiff. And with that pushback, if you do a down forward 2, it's a common setup I've seen a lot of Kazuya players use. You can end up getting a crumple. So I'm gonna show you this right now, and we'll move on. So we'll put it in repeat action. Okay, all right, and record. So this is a common setup that a lot of Kazuyas use. Now, here's what happens. Oops, my bad. I think I did something too slow. See that? That happens. That can actually happen. A jab will beat it out. Sometimes it depends on how you space it. But again, it's a tricky mix. It's not really tricky. It's a risky mix up. But it can pay off in dividends if you do it right. Now, I don't promote using something like that. You only use something like that when you understand your opponent and what they're going to do. So, you got to be careful with that. So, we done covered a lot of things so far. We done covered the down forward 2. Yeah, down forward 2. We covered the down back 4, the down forward 4, the wild standing 4, the forward 4, and now the forward 4. Now, let's go into the forward 3. The forward 3 is like, it's kind of like Jin's forward 4, with the exception that he doesn't have Zen stance, and that's minus on block. So if a person happens to block this, it's minus 13, and you can, with certain characters, you can get launched forward, and most characters can knock you down. I know Law gets a 3-4 knockdown off of that, so you want to be cautious when using this move, but it does give a counter hit crumble, so something like that. And you can implement your mix up. You see how it has that giant plus on it, has that plus 54. you can start your mix up off of that. So like at the wall, you could actually combo with it, but I'm not gonna go into that until later on. Talk about that later. We're just talking about the bare fundamentals of the character. We're just talking about the basic tools you want to use. So you want to make sure you maximize your tools first and worry about the combos later. I cannot express that enough. Make sure you understand the fundamentals first before you try to go into the combos and all that other stuff. The fundamentals will save your life more than a combo will. Combos always drop. Fundamentals, they don't fuck up. Alright, so we went over the forward 3. Another one that's good, it forces crouch, is the down back 2. It's -9, so remember, when it's -9, just like with the down forward 4, your turn is over. So it's not really good to press anything after that, but if you get it on regular hit, you get a free follow-up. You get a free follow-up, and then again, you get the pressure, so this is one of those moves. Do not be scared to throw it out every once in a while. It'll catch people more than you think it will. And then you get to go into your mix-up. So make sure you use that move. Remember, if it hits, you get a guaranteed follow-up of forward 4. If it doesn't hit, it's -9. Block. Do not try to attack. Do not try to sidestep. You don't have enough frames to sidestep. When it comes down to frames, when you're negative, when you want to step, the best plus minus is around 3 or 4. You want to be -3 or 4 if you want to go for the step. You don't want to be 5 because that's a little. You have to be damn near frame perfect on the step. But 3 or 4, you have a little margin for error. So you want to be careful with that. So when it's -6, -7, -8, -9, do not move. Just hold the block button. It'll save your life. Just let them have their turn. Now, unless you got a character like Cough Leroy that can parry or something like that, then do what you want to do. But if you're playing Kazuya, if you're -9, block. Blocking will save your life. All right, so we talked about the down back 2. What's another one I like? Back 4. This is a move that you're going to see in a lot of my gameplay that you probably done seen before you started the video. I use this move a lot because it serves multiple purposes. So we're going to get into that right now. As you can see, when it normally hits, it leaves them in a tailspin, right? So that tailspin, you can wave dash, you can start your mix up. It's +16. Just do the forward 3. It's little room for error. They can barely move. They can sidestep it, but it's going to be extremely hard to do. If they try to press a button, it's going to be real ugly. Get that counter hit, and then you get to go into the wave dash mix up as we talked about before. So this move right here is deadly at the wall. So let's go to the wall. I'm going to show you what it does at the wall. Alright, switch positions. Nah, we're just gonna leave it at the wall. So at the wall, this does wall splat. And it does a chunk of damage. So when it comes down to that, be extremely careful. Make sure you use it. It's 17 frames, so it's pretty fucking fast. I think it has a bit of a high crush, but don't quote me on that. It has a lot of range. So you can do some crazy things like that. So the back 4, really good, has a good recovery rate, so it's hard to whiff punish it at certain ranges. It's a high, so it can be ducked, but you got a mid homing move that's down forward too. So, but it's -12 as we've discussed before. So we talked about 2 homing moves. We talked about a move you can make it to a homing move with the while standing forward with the wave dash, because the wave dash realigns you with your opponent, as we already know. We talked about the down back 4 that has a lot of tracking on it. Now, I know this is a controversial topic, but I really think this next move I'm going to talk about, you can use it as a poke, depending on how you use it and when you use it. Let's go back to the normal. The electric wind god fist. Oops. The god fist. The electric wind god fist. Let's try that again. Okay, the electric wind god fist. We all know that's a launcher. It's 13 frames if you do it perfectly. It's 14 frames if you do the 3 input motion. I know it says 11 frames on your frame data chart. So let me explain this real quick how this works. So for every input you do in the game, that counts as a frame, right? So if you're doing the long way with Kazuya's instead of the shortcut, if you're doing the long way, which is forward, down forward, and then, oh, well, I just did the right way. But if you do forward, down, down forward, you end up getting 14 frames because you did 3 inputs plus the button. So that's 14 frames. So 14 frame startup move if you do the electric that way. If you do it that way, it's 14 frames. Now, if you do it the fastest way possible, it's 13 frames. Oops. which is that right there. If you look on the command history, you see how it says forward and just down forward 2. That, and it's just on how the 2 is on that frame, or the triangle is on that frame. That means it's a just frame, 13 frames. So the reason, back to what I was saying before I went into that little mini spill about how to count the frames when you're doing a move and why certain things doesn't work in match, is because of that, and why it says 11 frames when it's really not. The reason why I consider this as a poke, because you can literally substitute it for a jab, because it can crush a high. It can crush a high. It's extremely fast. It's a 14 frame high. It's a launcher. The only thing is, it's not something that you just spam, right? You don't spam it, but you can poke with it every once in a while to see how they're going to react to it. And at the wall, it is fucking deadly. So I'm just going to do a jab and then electric. If I can do it. Good guy. All right, so you see that +5 right there. Now, the average person, they see that electric and they immediately want to go into a mix-up, right? You can do that, but at the same time, with all that pushback, it gives them room to sidestep and move. So you pretty much reset the situation, right? This is why you don't really spam electrics like that. You can do it as a poke if you want some space to reset the situation. That's if you want to do that. But if you want the pressure, you only use the electric if they kind of whiff something. Like, let's say if they whiff something crazy, like let's say with Kazuya, a forward 3, and you just happen to step it to the right. I'll just show you what that looks like right now. Shoot. Sorry. Alright, repeat action. And I'm just going to do a jab, and then I'm going to do a forward 4-3. I do the jab first, and I do the forward 4-3 so I can get my timing down. So, just hold back so I make sure I do it right. So you see how that happens? Things like that tend to happen. Oops. This is when you use the electric. But you can also use it as a poke when you want that, when you want somebody off you. Oh, it's just repeat all actions. So if you want somebody off you, there you go. Electric Wind God Fist. So I done covered a lot of poking so far. This is the first part of a multi-part series. If you really enjoy this, I will make a part 2 talking about some other things. I'll just let me know what you want to talk about in the description below. Hope y'all guys have a great day. If there's anything that wait, I did miss something. We ain't done yet, baby. We ain't done. So we talked about the back 4. We talked about this. We talked about the forward 4. We talked about all that. Great. Fine. Here's a couple of tools that you can use. You can kind of cheese with Kazuya. The 1+2. The 1+2 is -14 on block. So I'm doing on block. It's -14. 15 frame startup, but the thing is though, it crushes high. So if you know a person has a tendency to retaliate on your move with a high, you go ahead and just bust this bad boy out, and then it's a free knockdown, and then you go into your mix-up. So you know, boom, and it's mix-up time. Oops, and there you go. So the down 4, I forgot to mention that one. I can't believe I forgot that one. One of the most common Kazuya tools people use when they're playing Kazuya, because it beats a lot of the electric pressure that a lot of people like to do. So the down 4 is really great. It's -2 though, so again, -2. You can step after this, but be cautious and make sure you're always, when you're stepping, make sure you're always blocking. So if you're going to step, make sure you do a small step and block. It doesn't take a lot of stepping to make a move with. Now certain moves you have to sidewalk, but we get into that's room for another topic. But right now we're just talking about the basics and the fundamentals of the character. So yeah, the down 4, you can block just to be completely safe. Take your little poke, take your little damage, keep it moving, hold the block button. You can sidestep after it. And it, again, like I said before, it crushes highs. It crushes all highs, so you ain't got to worry about that. So this is a good move to end the round off of, like something like, you can end the round like that, and it's -13. So a character like Kazuya can twin pistons it, and you might just die for it. So there's that. What else is a good poking tool that I know I'm missing something. I want to make sure I get everything for you guys in this one time. So like I don't want you to be like, well, you forgot about this or you didn't cover this. Oh, let's talk about moves that track to its weak side. Let's talk about moves. So back 1 by itself, it's 11 frames. and it tracks to its weak side. So it tracks to the left. So when you sidestep Kazuya, you sidestep them to your left hand. So boom, sidestep like I did earlier when I did the jab forward 3. But this move will catch a person that's trying to sidestep, and it has a decent amount of range too. You see that? Decent range. Not a lot of Kazuya players use this. This is a tool I will use every once in a while to test my opponent out, because everybody thinks you're going to finish the string like a scrub. Don't finish the string. But it does give a knockdown though. This is a punishment tool for 11 frames, but the first hit though, well 12 frames, but the first hit though is +1. So it's +1, so you can boom, go into a jab, completely safe. They kind of have to respect it unless they're gonna got a Hiachi or something that has a like high crushing move or Artifice or something like that. But use the moves depending on the situation. But this is just some move I forgot that I like throw out there every once in a while. It's this move. It's really good. I guess I could talk about forward 3 real quick, even though I really don't consider that much of a poke. It's more of a launcher. But the forward 3, it's a launcher. You can do a lot of crazy things off of it, but it's very linear. One, as you saw that I sidestepped it and launched it earlier. And on top of that, it's minus on block. See, it's -3 on block. It forces crouch for like a split second, but you can still step right out of it. And then you got to start the whole situation over. It's the opponent's turn, and you don't want to give up your turn. So remember, when you're playing Kazuya and you're poking, you don't have a lot to work with, but you got the tools to get the job done. You got your jab, your down back 4, you have your while standing 4, you have your down forward 4, you have your back 1, use it sparingly, you have your down forward 2, you have your back 4, you have your forward 4, and you have the greatest tool of all time, the forward 4. You have all these tools at your disposal. Just use them at the right time, and I promise you, you'll see results instantly. It's not all about how many electrics I can do. Oops. This stuff doesn't matter. You'll get to that eventually. That stuff doesn't matter. We just covering the basis of the character. I will get there eventually. But right now, I want to make sure that you have the fundamental understanding of the character, when to utilize certain tools and when not to utilize certain tools. During the editing process, I will be showing you again live footage of me actually using these tools that I've been talking about, so you can understand when to apply and when not to apply. So with all that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it short. We're going to the outro, baby, and y'all have a good one. Peace out.